And Nancy, is it okay if I jump off or you need me to stay on?
Yeah, no, we're good. Thank you.
Thank you, Suzanne.
You're welcome. Have a good meeting, everyone. As
Okay.
I told Nancy, we had 35 people registered as of earlier this morning. So hopefully most of those people will get on, and that'll be a great webinar then.
Yeah, we'll
Thank
give
you,
them a few
Suzanne.
minutes. Thank you, Suzanne.
Have a good day, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Nancy, if you
Everyone
need,
who's
send me a
coming
text
on,
or something, okay?
yeah. I just, those that are coming on, we'll start in a couple minutes. We'll just let a lot of the people join. We had a really good registration. So I don't want you to think we're closing this webinar. We're just about to start it.
Okay, Bruce, look up for me. Okay, you guys ready? 1, 2, 3. Good one. Thanks.
Thank you. I'm glad I dressed up today. Alice.
Ah,
We have about 5 people that have joined us. So let's give it a couple more minutes.
okay, I'm gonna be right back.
Okay.
The snow is melting.
Yeah, we're getting there.
How do you feel, Bruce?
I had a bad day yesterday.
Oh,
And
Better?
yeah, I don't think, well, I didn't run a fever. I took my temperature, but I felt like, somebody whacked me. I mean, I just had a bad day. And this morning I got up and I could tell the difference. And it's been progressively better during the day. So my cycle looks like it, because I got my shot around 3:30 on Tuesday. So my cycle looks like it was, 30 to 36 hours. My wife, who got her shot yesterday, she feels a bit sluggish, but she's getting a very good reaction.
Excellent.
I mean, I was on a score call yesterday with Marinello and Barry Marks, and poor Jim Marinello, he got his shot Tuesday too, and his words were, "I almost called 9/11."
oh,
Yeah, you see, he had a really bad reaction. Everybody's different.
Everybody's different. You hear the range.
But put it this way, it's your get out of jail free card, so I'm not complaining, thank God. Although I think based on supply and what they're talking about, anybody who's 40 years old or older is going to have a pretty good shot at getting vaccinated by the end of April, which I
Good.
think is terrific. And then, it'll get warmer and everybody's got cabin fever, and, we'll see what happens. I mean, I don't see, there's a lot of what I call managing the subject by the health experts. They don't have a definitive, position on a number of issues. Plus, the variants are causing some concern because they were not tested.
Ocean at your floodlight camp.
So we'll see. Time will tell. But the good news is that it's a step in the right direction. I mean, my gosh. Now, Nancy, did you get your shots yet, or are you scheduled? Or
My second one is Saturday.
Saturday? Well, good luck with that.
Yeah.
yeah, I can't seem to get in.
Well.
I mean, I'd rather somebody older go before me, you know what I mean? Not that I'm like young,
Sure.
but.
Yeah.
You
How
know.
about you, Stanley? Did you get your shots yet?
On the list, my wife has hers because she's a nurse, so she's had both of hers, but I'm on the list.
Okay.
All right.
A
Here we
dear
go.
friend. Yeah. Okay.
All right, guys, I'm going to start because
Yep.
it's 12:04 anyway. So as others join in, this is thank you for joining us today. And this is a new series that SCORE, the Northwest chapter of New Jersey, is putting out. On a monthly basis, we want to present to you one or two of our clients, which are entrepreneurs. They've started their own business, and really have them explain to you what it took to start their business, what are the challenges they've met, and the value of working with a SCORE mentor is also part of that. But we're so glad that all of you have joined today. And to kick this off, I want to give you a little bit of insight into what SCORE is all about. It is, to first start, I'd like you to, at the top of the right-hand corner of your screen, there's a view, and you should click on gallery view, because we're going to do a lot of discussion today in this meeting. It's not going to be slides and a presentation. So if you could click on that, you'll see all the speakers at once, and the discussion will go much smoother. And then I'd also like you to put in the Q&A or the chat box, tell us your name. If you have a business website, we'd love to see that. And what your business and what you do in that chat box as well. We are recording this session, so this will be available on our YouTube channel. And if any of you would like a copy of that, just let me know. I'm nancy.shea@scorevolunteer.org, and I can send you a recording of this session if you'd like that. There aren't a lot of slides, so there won't be a PowerPoint presentation sent to you afterwards, just the recording. And if you're working with the SCORE mentor today, let us know that too. And let us know how it's going with that, because of course we always want to make sure we're servicing our clients as best as we can. And moving on, I wanted to also alert you to, there's a few more webinars. We try to do 2 a month, and I'm just going to give you the next 3. On March 9th, we're selling on social media with Sheila O'Donovan is going to be presenting how to do an online e-commerce business. And a lot of folks have had to pivot to that in the pandemic, so it's a very relevant topic. On March 23rd at noon, we'll be doing bookkeeping tips, because if you keep really good books and you're strategic about what information you have and how you can use it, it will help you drive and grow your business. So it's very important for you to understand how bookkeeping impacts the future growth of your business. And then on April 7th at noon again, we have a series called Starting a Business. We kicked it off in January, and now we're doing deep dives into 4 or 5 of the subjects. The first one that we'll do a deep dive on is operations, how to develop your plan, what are some of the KPIs, the most important measures that you should keep in front of you and make sure that you're recording them, and just an overall sense of when you start your business, what are the key things that you need to focus on in that first 100 to maybe 200 days. So we'd love to see you. You can register for those at the website is given here, www.northwestnewjersey, all one word, .score.org, completely free. And I'd love to have you join us on one of those. And we also do 2 a month. So at each one, I kind of present the next 3 to 4. Moving on to what SCORE is, if you don't already know this, we are a national total volunteer organization that is sponsored by the Small Business Administration. So we are funded with your tax dollars. We have over 13,000 volunteers across the United States. And the diverse experience that they bring to you as a mentor, you can imagine we have finance, CPA, we have marketing, we have operations, we have HR, you name it, we probably can find it within the 13,000, if not even within the chapter that you would sign up for a mentor for. And the big selling point to SCORE not only is that we're free and we have a lot of experienced mentors for you to work with, is that we will cover you for the life of your business. That means I just have an idea. I want to talk to somebody. Is it a good idea? You can talk to SCORE. If you're already in a business and you have a specific challenge that you need to talk to somebody, let's talk. And how you sign up for a mentor is really easy as well. It's at, again, www.northwestnewjersey.score.org. There's a little button on our front page of our website that says find a mentor. And you can go to that, easily sign up, and we will be back to you within 24 hours of when you actually, put in your information. I'd also like to kind of let you know that what you can expect, we kind of talked about, consider if you're starting an idea. A lot of our mentors have started their own business or several businesses. They've walked in your shoes. They're going to be able to give you some really good advice if you're just thinking about the idea. They also are really good about if you already have a business and you want to add an adjacent play or a new business, let's talk about it. And then of course, growing your business. What's not up here is if you want to exit your business. And I need to add that bullet point because we do have expertise on how you would plan for that exit. And we're there for you for the life of your business. And again, you can find your mentor at our website, which is the Northwest New Jersey, or at the National SCORE website is www.score.org. And it's a little button called Find a Mentor. And I also have another idea here, which is some of you may actually want to become a SCORE mentor, a volunteer. And I wanted to let you know that we're always looking for new membership. And there's many roles that you can play as a SCORE member. It's not just about mentoring, although most of our volunteers start that way. You will be certified as a mentor. You take training, you actually sign a code of ethics, which is that everything a client tells you is confidential. And we sign this every year. So you can be assured that we're not going to take whatever information and give it to another client. We also, this community education, which is what you're here today, we have folks that plan those, they find the speakers. We also have other members that are developing, I call them strategic partnerships within our community. And lastly, we have fundraising. We don't raise millions of dollars, we raise a couple thousand, but this is something that, again, we spend that money back on you as our clients. So if you're interested in becoming a SCORE volunteer, or even talking about it to see, is it something that you'd like to do now or in the future, please contact steve.perlman@SCORE Volunteer, or go to our website, and it actually has another button that says, if you'd like to be a mentor, you can sign up here, or volunteer is what it says. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing my screen on SCORE, and we're going to jump right into the purpose of why we're all here today. This is, I said, a first of a series, and it's a very important series because as you start your business or you're in your own business, it's kind of a solitary existence. And we thought it's a really good idea for you to hear from others that are walking in your shoes, doing what you're doing, and really hearing some of their challenges and how they solve them, which I think will help all of you at some point. So today we have two, I think, very successful entrepreneurs to talk to you. We have Stan and Alice. Stan actually developed a product, so he's going to talk about that type of business. And Alice is a service business with social media, so very different. So it's going to be great to hear them talk about what they've done and how successful they've become and how they did it. And then I also want you to think about SCORE, and Stan and Alice are going to say and let you know how SCORE has helped them, the value that's a mentor, who is Bruce, who's on the bottom left side of the screen. He is a SCORE mentor in the Northwest chapter. He's excellent, and you're going to hear from him as well as from the clients that he served in the last 2 to 3 years. I want them to feel very free, both Stan and Alice, to share their thoughts. There's no holds bar. You can say the good, the bad, the ugly of what the subject or the questions we have. And I really want you to understand that these are folks on the screen or that are attending. They're going to ask you questions at the end. So if you have a question, those that are on the call, please put it in the Q&A, and I will read them at the end back to the different panelists we have here, and we will get you that answer to your question today, or take your name and get you with somebody who can answer it. So to start it out, I'd like Bruce to introduce himself and talk a little bit about his role as a SCORE mentor and why you do it. So take it away, Bruce.
Thank you, Nancy, and welcome everybody. The snow is melting and spring is on the way, so that's a good thing. I have been a SCORE mentor for 9 years now, and I can't believe it's 9 years, but here we are. And Stan and Nancy have been two of my very special clients. I've been asked, how do I think and how do I help my clients when we first meet, and then what is the ongoing relationship? It's pretty straightforward. When we get together, we have what I call a discovery process. And it's really critical that the SCORE mentor hear the client's story. You have to be a good listener, and you have to establish that rapport right away. From that discussion, you have to benchmark where they are. And this could be for a startup or an existing business. The principles of being successful don't really change that much, but benchmarking is critical in order to develop strategies for moving forward. One of the other things we want to do is make sure that the client really understands the SCORE value proposition. And I'm going to repeat it briefly so that you all have it. Number one, we are free. There are no strings attached. No SCORE mentor can develop any income stream from his volunteer work. Secondly, and this is really critical, we are not a consulting business. We are not a conference person. Everything we do is personalized to the needs of the client. And this is really critical because if it's not personalized, it doesn't really help you very much. Third, it is absolutely confidential. We sign up every year to a code of ethics declaration with the federal government, no less. And this ensures that everybody feels comfortable having open dialogue on what the issues, challenges are, and what the goals are. And finally, we're here for the life of your business. In 9 years as a SCORE mentor, I've had numerous clients who I talked to 7, 8 years ago and hadn't talked to for a while, but as their business develops, they come back to SCORE because of the rapport and the relationship that we established to begin with. Our ultimate goal, obviously, is to select the path to success and provide ongoing support in the execution of the plan. It's more than just a theoretical exercise. In fact, I think many times the ongoing support in the execution of the plan is really critical. And finally, we want to have continuity. We mutually establish homework assignments and schedule our next meeting with each video conference that we have with our clients. That's critical because you lose momentum if you're not pushing towards specific goals in order to achieve what you set out to do. And with that, Nancy, I'll turn it back to you.
Well, and I hope everybody that is on the call realizes that these mentors are absolutely experienced and it's all free. You don't pay anything and they will stay with you for years if it's working out and you really like it. So I encourage you to at least explore it. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to introduce Stan and Alice, and I'm going to ask them to introduce themselves and just describe your business and how long you've been in your business, and maybe a little bit about the clients that you serve or who you sell your product to, Stan. So Alice, would you kick it off? Alice, you're on mute.
Sorry, I was going to sneeze, so I put myself on mute. So I'm Alice O'Mahony. My company name is ALO Marketing Services. I started back in February of 2019. So I partner with business owners to come up with a content strategy. And what that means is we develop content pieces for each part of the customer's decision-making journey. And the goal of the strategy is to help the consumer come down the decision-making line confidently and quickly and faster. And primarily who I work with is products or services that are like long-term decisions. In other words, they need that content continuously put in front of them to help them make their decision. So I work a lot with independent travel agents. I work a lot with home improvement contractors where the homeowner, normally it's a very investment put into their home. I also work with estate attorneys and family attorneys. You know, again, it all goes back to that long decision line and, you know, continuously putting content in front of your client to help them make a decision and feel reassured to do business with you.
That's very interesting because I've never really thought about also that decision to when they pull the trigger, the client could be fairly long.
Yes.
So you really need to stay in contact with them and stay top of mind. That's really a good, you know, ideal type of benefit you offer. And Stan, I already told them that you created a product. So tell us about your business, how you started it, and a little bit about your customers.
Sure, thank you, Nancy. My name is Stan Grabaris. I am the president of Upward LLC, and I'm also the inventor of the Eco Pool Drain Wastewater Fountain. That's a mouthful.
Mm-hmm.
And you can kind of see some of the boxes or packaging right behind me, which SCORE played a very big role in. This isn't my business, or my story is probably a little unusual in that it's an accidental business. We bought a pool several years ago, and I'd never owned a swimming pool. And we've all seen blue hoses pumping water at the end of someone's driveway, as I've seen too, but I never really knew what was going on. And what I discovered was people were pumping wastewater into our stormwater sewers, which is illegal. And plus it's just the wrong thing to do. So at the end of the day, I invented a product to solve my problem, and then realized it had a place in the marketplace. And that's kind of what brought me to SCORE and the packaging and the eco, as we affectionately refer to it at this point.
And tell us a little bit about your customer. Is it the actual pool owner or is it retail? How are you selling this?
So my customer, because I am a very small company, the entire company is one person. So that one person is accounts receivable, accounts payable, production, marketing. It's a lot. So in order to succeed as a very small company, I realized I needed very large customers. In other words, one purchase order could be a lot of merchandise. So my customers today are, there's a company by the name of Leslie's Pool Supplies. They have 950 stores. That's a customer. So I count it as one, but it flows to 950. Home Depot, they have 2,200 plus stores. And most recently, Walmart. Now, we are not in all of the stores at this point. We're in 46 Leslie stores, and we're online with Home Depot and Walmart, and we have a Zoom call coming up in April to talk about going national with Walmart next year.
Wow. Well, maybe later we can talk how you've been approaching that Walmart, because that's a huge, customer for you to capture. And I'm sure some of the attendees might be interested in that. Alice, let's kind of move into more about, why you started your business and why you find it rewarding to be a small business owner.
Yeah, so the light bulb went on for me at a small part-time admin role I had with a real estate company. It was just primarily meant to be a very simple role, marketing. And when I came in, my timing was perfect. They were actually starting their marketing, going away from the traditional print marketing model and going more into the digital marketing space, meaning social media, more email campaigns, and also providing independent websites for their agents. And this was a huge, huge adjustment for both the agents and the clients, because the clients were used to seeing their homes in papers and they weren't really ready to let go of that. So the agents really came, I just dove into all digital marketing. I dove into primarily social media, advertising on social media, coming up with drip email campaigns, again, just to stay in front of those customers throughout the decision-making process. And the agents were just so thankful for any help I could give them. The corporate was, really thankful for the support. And it just really dawned on me at that point that business owners don't have the mental or the time capacity to do marketing for their business. They really want to just focus on their passion and their clients. And that's when I saw the opportunity and I decided to take it.
That's wonderful. And you know what they always say, you should focus on what you do best and have other people do the things that you don't want to do or really aren't that good at, let's be honest. So you found that niche. It's not really a niche, it's actually a pretty big opportunity. But I also found it really interesting that you dove into something without any background in it. And how, just tell a little bit about how'd you feel about that and what do you think made you successful today? What is it about you?
Well, you know what? It's something, and I do think it is something that helps me trudge along as a business owner. That you have to dig deep and just know that the way to become the expert at something is making mistakes, and you just keep at it and keep at it. And the fact of the matter is people are just so thankful that you took on this expertise, and they see the value that you're bringing to the table, that it makes it all worth it. But yeah, Nancy, a lot of things today now comes down to just diving in and learning online and things like that. That college marketing degree I had back, which I'd rather not say the year, as much as it helped me, I really didn't start digital marketing.
That is, I think it's really a credit to you and your personality and your desire to continuously learn and improve yourself, which a lot of entrepreneurs have that characteristic. And Stan, tell us a little bit about, why you started, well, you kind of did, why you started your business was you saw a problem and you had a need. But what are some of the, why is this so rewarding as a one-man business? There must be times when you question, is it really worth it or not?
Well, you're right, Nancy. There are certainly lots of times, and I think that's natural for anyone in business where you question what you're doing. What really drove me is, and this is probably not the answer a lot of people are accustomed to hearing, but we're here on Earth for a short period of time, and it's good if we can leave it a little better than when we arrived. And when I looked at, water, without water, there is no life. That's Mars. There is no life without water. And I don't fault pool owners for disposing of pool water the way they do. Quite frankly, they don't know what else to do. When you have a 2-horsepower motor pushing 75 gallons a minute out of a 2-inch opening, it's going to destroy your property. It's like taking a fire hose to it. So they put it on a hard surface where it flows to the nearest stormwater sewer, and it contaminates what eventually comes out of our faucets. So that's really what drove me to commercialize the product. When I initially started this, I had no intention of a commercial product. I was just solving my own problem. But as I went down that road, long before I came to invent a product, I tried to buy it. And that's really what drove me to commercialize it. And it was the answers I was getting. Everyone in the pool industry knew the problem. There was no doubt. They all knew it was illegal. And when I would ask them for, what do I buy? Obviously, they kept telling me nothing. And they would say, dump it in the street. And I would tell them it's illegal. And I can't tell you how many times I got this response to my statement of it's illegal. They would tell me to do it at night.
We know, just do it. Because they didn't have another solution, right?
They didn't. So I don't fault the pool owners, but I almost felt it as a personal responsibility to, all right, here's the answer. Now let's spread the word.
But you've never started a business before. So tell us a little bit about that part of the process and what led you to SCORE.
Well, starting the business, as anyone who's viewing this, including Alice, is certainly an undertaking. You need a good attorney to start with. And it goes on and on and on from there, from patent attorneys. In my case, we have a US patent, European Union patent, and patent pending in Canada, because I realized once I had developed a solution, there is a value to the intellectual property. And then as you go down that road, then you have to think about logos and trademarks, and that's a whole new adventure. And the patent road is a very long road. It's 5 years. It's 5 years of having legal letters that say, no, 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 you can't patent this, no. And it's only because no one reads anything anymore. And we all know that. Anyone who's ever received an email, we scan them. If it's not bullet points, it doesn't get read. So you have to keep paying. You have to write your response in layman terms, send it to your attorney, who then turns it into legal terms, who then says to the patent reviewer, no, your answers are wrong, and here's why. And after 5 years of rejections, eventually you get a yes. Oh, you're right. You can patent this. So it is a long road.
And anything about what you didn't know, and how did you, I mean, like the lawyers is one thing, but I think when I've talked to you before, you've also said, because you've been a very successful corporate executive, but this is like finding out all these things as you go along. Is there any advice that you would add besides the lawyer to the folks on the line?
Yes. Go to SCORE immediately.
That was easy.
So I'll give you a few reasons why. So as you said, Nancy, I do have a corporate executive background, and I did pretty well at my career in corporate America. And I applied all of that to my product and my company. And you know what? I did an awful job at it. My packaging was wrong. My messaging was wrong. My video was wrong. It was all professional. It was all high quality, but it was wrong. And it took Bruce. He was very polite, but he probably knew that in the first 30 minutes of our conversation, is my guess. And Bruce has a very nice way about him in that he gets you to come to the right conclusion on your own, asking the right question. So one of the things he mentioned during his introduction was the value proposition. Something I thought I kind of had right. And after talking to Bruce, I realized I didn't have any of it right. I scored a perfect 0 on value proposition. And to the viewers of this presentation, the value proposition is literally why someone would buy something. You know, it's your product messaging. So no tools required. It's just an example. Was my product part of my original packaging? Well, what does that mean? No tools required for what? What is it you're selling? So it meant nothing. And so first thing I would say is go to SCORE immediately. In fact, right after this presentation.
And of course, I agree with that advice, and so does Bruce. But also what I heard you say is that you don't know what you don't know. And it's
That is correct.
every business, from corporate to an independent, there are things you just don't know. And by having somebody with the ability to listen to you and then help you realize where you're at, either in the process or here's what you don't know, but you need to correct, is really important. And it's all for free when you work with a SCORE mentor. And they really do have your back in their best interest. They don't just advise and hope it goes well. They really work with you.
And what you said right there is so critical, because it is natural to explain, well, I did this because X, whatever X happens to be. And that's a mistake. It's not a debate between you and a SCORE mentor.
Right.
The mentor comes in with an open mind, no baggage attached to anything, and has pretty good perspective as to what's going on. What you don't want to do is start defending, I did this because of this and this. You want to have an open mind and really listen. And that's a mistake a lot of people that I've discovered in my professional career. They're really not that good at listening. They may say yes, or they may nod their head, but at the end of the day, they don't hear that much. So I would say when you're dealing with a SCORE mentor, be a good listener, because they'll help you get to where you need to go.
That's really, really important. And they also need to be good listeners. So we do take training in that, and we try to help our membership get better at it. So thank you, Stan. You know, Alice, when you think about how you've taken a business from just an idea by working with your realtors, and now you're moving into other types of businesses, right?
Yep.
Talk to us a little bit about those challenges. And again, maybe how you've overcome a couple of them, and the value of SCORE, of working with SCORE.
Well, I think Stan and I, in fact, even though he's offering a consumer product and I'm a B2B, our experiences are very much in parallel, right? Because Stan and I both had corporate jobs, or, you know, we worked for a company and there was processes in place, and we probably had input on those processes in our old roles, right? And
Right.
managed people, and everything seemed to get done, stayed budget, and went to market. But for some reason, all that kind of fell apart when it's now your business, and you suddenly feel lost when you shouldn't feel lost. I've done all this, right? I did it for companies like Siemens. I did it for companies like Lucent. So why am I lost at ALO Marketing Services? You know, and that's where SCORE really came to help me personally. Just to back up a little bit, I went to Bruce because basically I just had the wrong people knocking at my door for my services. And they were constantly questioning my prices and, you know, what value do you really offer? And it hurt your feelings because you've put blood, sweat, and tears into the value. But matching it with the clientele that's going to appreciate that value and pay for that value, is a whole different challenge, right? And that's where I turned to Bruce, and he really did save me. And I think, as Stan mentioned, you do start with, well, I started with the value proposition. And, and Bruce really helped me drill down, like, why are you different than everybody else that's offering content or social media strategies, services? What makes you different? And he just kept talking to me, and he kept listening, and I just kept answering questions. And he just really helped me define my service and what differentiated me from everybody else. And that was a huge, huge thing. And also, what a lot of people don't realize, and Stan, I know you've definitely felt this, like, you're all alone, like you're in your home trying to run this business, right? For me, I'm on my dining room table. You look like you actually have a real office, but you're constantly questioning yourself. You get so engulfed in a stupid little task that shouldn't have taken you 5 hours. You should be focusing on so many other things. And just to have somebody with, Bruce's experience to say to you, okay, you have the knowledge and you have the expertise. You can do this. You can be an entrepreneur, and you will be. I mean, that itself was a huge, huge help for me.
So the SCORE mentors are coaches. But I also want, like, Stan, you're in an industry that there's a couple of key leaders, and it was so important that you found somebody with that industry experience like Bruce. But Bruce also helped Alice, who he doesn't have social media. So I just want folks on the line to realize you can get really lucky and find a mentor that has your industry experience, and that can help you tremendously. But you don't have to have that experience to get the fundamentals of how to, define what the priorities should be, what step in the process you need to take, how to strategically think about your business from the benefit to the target. You don't need somebody with that experience, at least all the time. And so with that, I want to introduce Bruce again and bring him in, because he's been with SCORE for 9 years now, and he's going to be able to really talk to what he sees works well with mentoring clients. Go ahead, Bruce.
Okay, well, I'd like to revisit the feedback from Alice and Stan with respect to the whole concept of somebody to talk to. One of the most difficult things as an entrepreneur, you're very passionate, and that is a great attribute. But sometimes you're very stubborn, or sometimes you're afraid to look in the mirror and say, it's not working. So how do I approach this? And talking to family, it can be helpful, but at the end of the day, are they going to be objective? Or do they have the knowledge that can really provide what you're looking for? I think one of the most important things that I find with my clients is that once you establish that rapport and trust, I am somebody that they talk to. And we all like good news, but we also have to be realistic and objective about evaluating where we are. And I think everybody should take note of that. One of the things that Nancy asked me to do today was to develop a list of the, what are the traits of a successful entrepreneur? And you can go online, and I came up with a list of over 100 traits, and then I shared it with Nancy and Stan, and they said to me, no, not really. Here are the ones that are most important to me. So I'm going to give you 9 traits that are the collective thinking of 2 successful entrepreneurs, myself and Nancy. So, and feel free to ask questions and, go online and reach out. But these are the big 9, and they're all a priority. Number 1, obviously, you've got to be a self-starter. If you need somebody to tell you what to do every day, then maybe entrepreneurship is not for you. You obviously have to be confident. And both of my clients, confess to the fact that some days you don't feel very confident because you're not clicking. But in the end, you have to have that feeling inside of you that, I'm going to win. I'm going to get there one way or the other. you've got to be resourceful and creative. I always kid colleagues when I talk to them on the phone. Before I retired from my corporate life, I could always call so-and-so on the second floor to get all my IT stuff taken care of. Well, there is no second floor. There is no so-and-so to call anymore. I've got to figure that out for myself. And frankly, it's been really fantastic to feel the freedom of, learning about, technology. You've got to be persistent. And my colleague Nancy talked about grit. You have to be, when they knock you down, you've got to get back up, and you've got to keep getting back up. I love that word grit. Number 5, you've got to be flexible and have an open mind. And I want to expand on that a little bit. Sometimes we only want to listen to ourselves because we have our own opinions, and they're very strong. And that's what, makes me as an entrepreneur that much stronger. But you know what? The person with the controlling vote is the person who's willing to step up and pay some money, right, Alice, for what you're selling. And that's about being flexible and open-minded. You got to listen to the customer. And then if that customer isn't right for you, you know what? There's nothing wrong with firing that customer and finding another one. You've got to be a risk taker. That goes without saying. This is one of my most important attributes: clarity of purpose.
Yeah.
You cannot be all over the place every day. Stan's a one-man army. He has a mission. He can't decide on Tuesday he's going to experiment over here and then Wednesday over here. He has a clear vision on where he needs to go and what he needs to do, which is why the value proposition is so important, because the value proposition is more than just words on a piece of paper. It's frankly the foundation, the guidance of how you run your business every day. Number 8 is you've got to be decisive. If you're the kind of person that likes to, I say, lay eggs, and you have a long incubation period, entrepreneurship may not be for you, because making decisions daily is what it's all about. They're informed decisions, but you've got to be decisive. And finally, you've got to focus on the most important strategies and tactical execution. If you're the kind of person that is a visionary and creative, but you have trouble transferring that creativity and vision into tactical execution, then entrepreneurship is going to be a real challenge for you. And I think, and I know for a fact, in the cases of both my clients, the tactical execution was a big part of our mentoring, because you had to transfer that value proposition, which was really terrific, into actual activity in the market and make it successful. So those are the traits of a successful entrepreneur from SCORE. Nancy, if you want me to, I can talk about the biggest challenges at this point, or do you want to go back to our clients? What would you like to do?
No, let's do that. But I wanted to add a couple that I've realized as working with SCORE over the last 3 years, the trait.
Sure.
One is that you need to be, and this is what Alice has also mentioned, you have to be somebody who constantly wants to learn. You can't be one that says, well, I only do this and I'm going to stop now. You have to have that innate reason to, like, I want to figure this out. I want to keep going. And I think another one that I've learned is you have to have an EQ that is resilience, yes, grit, yes, but also the ability to know when okay, I'm at that point, I got to step back. You have to be able to emotionally control yourself, because you're the one that's, the decision maker and taking all the heat for what's going on. And you have to understand yourself enough when you know you're at that point where you need to step back. And then the last one that I learned was having local connections, building them, and really building a network of folks that can either help you with your thoughts or help you with the functionality of your business, but putting yourself out there enough to understand the local businesses, the local resources, and building a network. Some of us are not comfortable doing that. And I think as an entrepreneur, you need to realize you can't do it all yourself. And I'm not even talking about paying somebody to be on your staff. I'm talking about putting yourself out there to learn from other people that you just, and Alice has been wonderful at this. She could actually tell you a couple stories where she just will call up folks and say, I'm interested in your industry. Will you talk to me? Alice, you want to add to that?
Yeah, Nancy, that's a great point. I'm telling you, don't be afraid. Anybody's willing to talk to you. And if you just approach them and say, I'm doing sheer marketing research, this is the direction I'm thinking about going in. Is this something that you could see being of value to your industry? Or if there's a fit in your industry, it's and it's free. It's just advice, and it's fantastic.
Yeah, and what you might, it's like a qualitative research. You're not selling anything, you're trying to learn from them. And people love to talk about themselves and their business. So it's a really good fit.
Yeah,
So
and
with that,
Nancy, just so you know, Bruce helped me with that also. He
ah,
was the one that he encouraged me, and we worked on some questions. So he
excellent.
helped me with that too.
So Bruce, you've been doing this quite a bit. Tell us about what you think are the biggest, first steps when you think about starting your own business. What would you really want to teach somebody?
Okay, thank you, Nancy. In trying to answer this question on a broad strategic level, I came up with three steps, and they're all part of the equation to success. You can't just do one or two of them. You got to do all three in order to be a successful entrepreneur. I always start with the value proposition. And I couldn't have said it better, Alice, when you describe what the value proposition is, not in an academic sense, but in a practical sense. It's, are people willing to pay what I need to get paid for the service or the product that I'm offering? And I'll go back to Stan. When he sent me the samples and I opened the box and I said, you're getting $69.95 for this plastic pipe in a cardboard box. And I even showed it to my wife and she said, well, what does it do? I mean, that's a lot of money. And guess what? We changed the messaging because there was a value proposition there. It just wasn't being communicated properly. And you know what? Has anybody asked you about the retail lately? Not really. At least you haven't reported it. And we're talking about some of the sharpest retailers, both the specialty retailer like Leslie's and someone like Walmart. We're talking about some pretty shrewd operators who know the value of things. So the value proposition is the foundation. There's so many businesses that if they pick the wrong fork in the road and they don't communicate it properly, everything else is a waste of time and money. Number two, and this was, I think, very critical for both of my clients on the call today. You must identify and nurture your ideal customer. You cannot be, my term is Ellis Island. Ellis Island, everybody was a customer. My grandparents were a customer. They came through, okay? But as an entrepreneur, you cannot be Ellis Island. You must nurture and identify your ideal client. Now, I'm practical enough, I've been in business, I've been an entrepreneur, that sometimes cash flow pressures, etc., dictate that you make pragmatic decisions. I get that. But at the end of the day, at the end of the year, you must have identified your ideal customer and focus your time and effort on that ideal client. And I think both Stan and Alice are examples of that. And finally, number three in the equation is that you must be adept at acquiring and managing both human and monetary capital. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, getting money, okay, is not as easy as you think it is as a startup business. And even if you're in business, it's not as easy. Because what is the lender going to say? What is my collateral? So acquiring capital, you have to be very creative. And you've got to make sure that you understand how much capital you really need in order to be successful. I think most entrepreneurs get that. The area that they struggle with is human capital. And Alice, and Stan said it very well. You don't have to be a lawyer. You don't have to be an accountant. You don't have to be an insurance broker. You don't have to be any of those things, but you must find someone who can be a partner with you in this venture and manage them appropriately. So just to summarize, it's a value proposition, it's the ideal client, and managing your human and capital resources correctly. Those are the three things that I identify. And from there, sky's the limit. So I'll turn it back to Nancy.
Yeah. So I hope the people that are on the call really understand what those three things are. And if they don't, we have workshops coming up to take you through, and Bruce is going to teach the value proposition in May 5th. And so that would be a good thing for you to attend. But just to close this out, I'd like to go back to Alice and Stan. If you were to tell a good friend they're starting their business, what would be a couple things that you would want them to understand? And would you recommend working with SCORE? Alice?
Okay, I was gonna say, Stan, you want to take it away?
I was gonna say Alice.
Okay, I'll take it away real quick. Yeah, I mean, to me, it's a no-brainer. SCORE was critical to me, not only still being in business for the past 3 years, but as I said right from the beginning, giving me the kick and the confidence that I need. So yes, highly recommend SCORE. That would be my number one recommendation. My other two recommendation is to get out and talk to people and really, figure out where you need to be and who you can serve. And the only way you really figure that out is if you have the conversations, if you network. Because I think then at least when you go to SCORE and you go to Bruce, at least you can share some conversations that you've had and what you think works and what you think wouldn't work.
Thank you. Stan, you want to add?
Sure. Although you really nailed it, Alice, but in short, why would you not?
Yeah.
If someone offered me a free Mercedes, I would take it. If they offered me a free house, I would take it. If they offered me a free dinner, I would take it. Why would I not? I mean, it's been life-changing, as Alice has described and I've described. Why would you not?
Well, I'd like to now open it up to any questions. If you could put them in the chat or the Q&A. We do have one. I know that, Bruce, you kind of answered it with a very yes, but I want to read it and then see if there's other things you want to add to it. This is from Anu. He's asking, or she's asking, can you get a mentor if you just want to ask specific questions, say about a trademark or building a website, but I don't need other support because you may already have a strong business background? Bruce, you said yes. Would you want to give a little bit more on that?
Sure. My experience is that the specific questions usually end up being a broader conversation, because this goes to the heart of why I think SCORE is such a valuable resource for potential clients and our existing clients. We're there to talk about the business, and we're going to ask you to give us the background on the business and where you are and what you're doing, etc. And we're going to ask questions. And then we'll get into your list of questions. Sure, we can answer specific questions. You want to talk about cash flow? We can do that. You want to talk about trademarks? You want to talk about LLCs? Any of that, we can do that. But the bigger value ends up being a discussion of the business. That's how I would answer that.
And that also means that they will listen really well. And because of their listening, they're going to find little pockets of, have you thought of this? So that is the value of working with SCORE. It's not just about the specific questions. And they're not going to evaluate. They don't try to second guess you. They just try to advise and give you a way to think maybe a little bit differently about your business. We have, this is for Stan. Annette writes, I'd love to know more about your product, Stan. I plan on fixing and reopening my in-ground pool this spring. What is the name of the product again? And Bruce did write, it's Echo Pool Water Waste Fountain. Do you want to add anything else?
Yeah, it's Eco Pool Drain. So ECOPOOLDRAIN. And if you just do a search Eco Pool Drain Fountain, you'll see it online at Leslie's, Home Depot, and Walmart. I hope that answers the question. Thank you.
Yeah, looks like you have at least one sale.
Well, that goes back to what.
And just wait till-
Stan, I cannot believe that you didn't offer to sell direct to that client. I can't believe that.
It'll be in the mail tonight, right?
Well, right now I'd rather drive the business through my customers.
Oh, good answer. Good answer.
And I was going to tie that back to Bruce, but I lost my train of thoughts. I'm sorry.
Well, guys, we don't have any, there might be one more question here. No, I don't see another question. So what I'd like to do is to just say thank you to all the folks that are on the line, and a very big special thank you to Alice, Stan, and definitely Bruce for being part of this first kickoff for Meet the Entrepreneur. And for those that are on the line, if you have any ideas of how to make this even more relevant and to resonate with you, will you please write them in the chat box or Q&A? I would love to make this the best it can be. And so your help would be appreciated.
You know, Nancy, there's one thing I'd like to add, which we tend not to talk about enough. And that is the SCORE group is a team. And although you may have a primary mentor, in my case with Stan and Alice, I was their primary mentor. But we do a lot of team effort, especially when we don't have the expertise in a particular product. So feel free to reach out. If you already have a SCORE mentor, reach out to them and say, hey, I heard so-and-so, or I'm interested in this topic. Can we add to the team? And then they communicate internally, or reach out to Nancy and myself. Not a problem. We're not on commission. we're here to help our clients as a real team. And you know, we have about 40 members in our local chapter, but with technology, we have no boundaries. You know, virtual mentoring is, I guess, the way it is today, which is great.
We do have one question that I missed, and Amelia writes, she's with National Bulb Recycling. I am currently in contact with the SCORE mentor. She needs assistance in coming up with a sales system. At the present time, we are just mounting papers and notes, etc., to a pile of many inches. Any suggestions? And Bruce wrote, who is your mentor? And maybe you want to contact Bruce directly to talk more about this, because it's not clear what the actual need is. And unfortunately, Zoom doesn't give us a forum where we can all talk and, you know, address each other. But Amelia, you can reach out to Bruce Fisher at scorevolunteer.org, and he will try to help you sort out what he thinks is the next step for a sales process.
Nancy, may I make a closing statement for myself?
Absolutely.
I'd like to thank SCORE, and I'd especially like to thank Bruce, because my relationship with SCORE and Bruce has been life-changing. I strongly encourage anyone who's viewing this now or in the future to reach out to SCORE, and it's life-changing.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Well said, Stan.
Thank you. All right, I do not see any others, so we're going to close out. Thanks, everybody, and thanks to Alice, Stan, and Bruce. Bye.
Thanks for having us.
Bye.